Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to That Mill Podcast, the Millwall Podcast 2023 review with myself, Omar. I've got Dan to my right hand side, left hand side. Hello, mate. How are you?
Evening, mate. Very well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And we've also got Mr. Stephen Jones. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. How you boys well?
Living a dream. So today's concept for any listeners and people watching on YouTube, we're going to discuss 2023 as a whole for Millwall. Obviously, we're in January now. We're in the second week of 2024. It's the appropriate time to look back at the year that's just been by, discuss obviously fixtures, results, and anything in between, including transfers and key talking points for the three of us throughout the season. We're going to go in kind of order to start off the show and get to the end, and then at the end of that, we're going to be picking our topics of conversation with regards to best goals, best player, worst player, the worst business the club might have done, and all various topics, which obviously we want your interaction, comments, and views on in the comment section below. So,
And also, before you move on, Omar, there will be polls on Twitter asking
there you
you
go.
to vote on our three choices. We're going to make a choice for each section, and we're going to leave polls on Twitter for you guys to go and vote on and see who you agree with the most.
You heard the man. Make sure you do it. Right. So let's crack on and get straight into it, chaps. I want to start off with January as a whole, and obviously talk you through the results of January for Millwall in 2023. First up was a 3-0 victory over Rotherham on the 1st of January, New Year's Day to start off the year. Probably couldn't have got better than that. And then proceeded to get maybe a little bit worse, I suppose, with a 2-0 defeat away at home to Sheffield United in the FA Cup. Another third round defeat for Millwall. I'm interested to see when was the last time we got past the third round, and I'm sure Dan will tell me. When was the last time we got past the third round of the FA Cup?
Once, from memory, I think it's 2020 when we beat Newport 3-0. That's
Sound.
when memory jumps out to me, but obviously I don't really remember the COVID season, so we might have done it then.
Yeah, I think we played Boreham Wood actually that year as well, didn't we? I
Yeah,
remember that
yeah,
against
okay,
Boreham
yeah,
Wood.
now
I
it's
remember.
right, there we go, I nailed it.
Yeah, see, between us, mate, we got that. We then lost 1-0 to Middlesbrough on the 14th of January, followed up with a 1-0 win away at Cardiff City. Great day out that was actually, for what it's worth. And then that was the end of the month. Obviously, with the FA Cup, there was no fixture at the end of the month, and that was a short January. Chaps, Dan, what's January talking points for you? Anything that sticks in the memory or anything that kind of stands out for you?
I mean, it was such a long, well, it was literally a year ago. It does feel a very long time ago now as well, to be completely honest. I think obviously the Cardiff game, I know it was obviously a bit of a scrappy goal from Tom Bradshaw to win the game, but that felt like a proper Millwall performance that day, the way you kind of have to dig deep, get 3 points out on the road. So I think that's probably the highlight of that month, to be completely honest with you. Obviously, beating Rotherham at home, I know it's obviously a fixture you expect to win, but given our record, I'm sure we'll touch on some of these games a bit later on as the season progresses. It's obviously good to get a win, and we did that in convincing fashion. Obviously disappointing with the FA Cup. It feels like our affinity with the FA Cup seems to be shrinking as it goes on at the moment. Obviously, we're doing this in the midweek just after the Leicester game as well, but it does feel like Millwall's affinity with the FA Cup seems to be disappearing a little.
It does indeed. I mean, Stephen, I think obviously I agree with Dan there. Obviously, the 1-0 win away at Cardiff, Bradshaw did score a scrappy goal. It kind of, for me at the time, albeit probably under the influence at the time because it was my birthday weekend, but it was a kind of a smash and grab, but a comfortable win at the time. And I think for me anyway, that's a standout. I don't know if you're going to disagree and go with the Rotherham game.
No, do you know the Cardiff game was more of a standout because I think at that point that was a game that none of us really and fans Cardiff away. We didn't have a
Mhm.
particularly best of record there, and to go there and win it was almost as if there was a little bit of belief that we could actually sustain a little bit of a challenge towards the top six. I think the FA Cup, you boys are spot on. I think Rowett especially. I don't think he really was that fussed about the FA Cup, so it was kind of always played second fiddle because we were always concentrating on the league. But it seems so long ago, but you sort of remember the Bradshaw's goal. I think Jake Cooper ended up sort of about a 40-yard run on the ball, played the ball through, and then and Tom managed to beat the keeper. But yeah, it's just a year ago, and it's unbelievable to think that it's been that long since then. But Cardiff to stand out. Rotherham was a good day on New Year's Day to start the year the right way, but Cardiff to stand out.
Absolutely. Right. We did actually make some transfers in January, obviously. I'm going to go for you, Dan. Can you guess the three arrivals for us? I'm putting you on the spot there a little bit. There was three.
Um, well, Amaku, that must be
Yeah, he's counting on there.
Amaku. If Amaku counts, then that's one. Um, Obviously, good old Ollie Burke,
Correct.
and also Duncan Watmore.
Indeed. I want to come to you, Stephen, now to say the departures. There was 3 in total that left on a permanent basis that left the club. Don't look at your screen, look away. I feel like you're getting something up.
That is
To
a
look
that is
at.
a
No,
tough
I
one.
It
actually
is a
wasn't.
tricky one because I
I
don't
actually
remember.
wasn't.
I can name one off the top of my head straight away if you want me to get the ball rolling for you, Stephen.
Go on.
Matt Smith.
Left in
think
January, did he?
I don't think he left in January that year.
I swear. Oh, it must have been the year before. Bloody hell. Get my
Mm.
January confused. All right,
Um,
ignore me then.
Oh, you've really. Why didn't you ask me the 3 incomings? I knew that answer. Outgoings.
Benica was one
Yep.
because
Oh,
he obviously had the drab
Benica.
set at the start of the
Well,
season.
what positions were they in? Give us a bit of
2
a.
more. It's difficult because they didn't really feature prominently in the first team squad, but there were 2 younger-ish players that were around and kind of involved, but not really getting their opportunities in the side. One was a centre half / right back, I would argue, and the other one was a centre forward who's banging goals in the League Two. So
Oh,
that's 2 different
Alafi.
there. Yeah.
Alafi is that was the main one.
Tanto, yep. Alafe went to Stockport County, and the last one's now playing his trade in Ireland. One more clue there for you, Stephen. Come on.
I
Centre
haven't got a
half.
clue.
He shares a surname with a famous German footballer whose first name's Thomas.
Also, something that's
Oh,
nice.
Hayden Muller. Hayden. Funny enough, my cousin used to play football with him. Actually, I should have got that.
Shame on you for not getting that.
Shame. So yeah, Hayden Muller obviously departed as well. I mean, I think Muller seems to be doing all right in Dundalk from what I can gather. Obviously, Phobie's kind of evaporated into nowhere. Obviously, going to the Arab Emirates. Not surprised to see that one. I think sounded like when he went there at the time, it was like to do business, like doing property and stuff, wasn't it? If you followed him on social media and everything like that. And then obviously Tanto's the one that could come back to bite us in the backside one day. Who knows? I mean, 23 scoring goals. Go on, Stephen.
But we have a buyback clause and a sell-on clause on him. So whilst it might come back, so we might have to pay a little bit more. But if someone takes a punt on him and pays sort of a decent fee, we'd get something for him, or the club could buy him back. So you never know.
Absolutely. I feel like I would ask you about Watmore, Amaku, and Burke, but I think they're just going to come naturally in conversation as we get through the rest of the year. So we'll come back to them.
I'll just to sum up our transfer window in January out of 10, chaps.
6.
I'm going to go with 4 because we chased Kevin Nisbet for the entire window, and then in the last minute it failed miserably. The signings were probably better than a 4, but in terms of our actual business, to chase one player the whole window and not get him was pretty poor.
I think God, Dan, sorry.
I'll say I'm going to go slap bang in the middle of a 5.
Yeah, I think for me,
for a combination of both them factors of what you said.
I was a little bit glass half full with Watmore. The same with Amaku, a young promising signing, and Burke was a bit drab. So that kind of tated it away down to a 6.
I think if Amaku hasn't been playing as well as he had done recently, then probably would have been a 4.
Our shortfalls were goal scoring, and obviously that showed because I mean, we didn't really get to the promised land, and there was loads of games where we lost 1-0 towards the end of 22-23, which we'll get onto in a minute. So coming into February, and we had a 1-1 draw at home against Sunderland. Cooper scored that day. We went 1-0 up early on, if memory serves me right, in the second half.
Little scoop, wasn't it?
Yeah, we couldn't hold on towards the end. It was a sellout that day as well. I think one of the first ones of the season, wasn't it, where it's kind of ramping up. It felt like it was a sellout game. And obviously anticipation starting to build. We then went to QPR 1-2-1. Great day out. Duncan Watmore with a peach of a goal. I missed it because I went to the loo. And then we then lost on Valentine's Day up at the Ricoh Arena, Coventry. Guy Corre scoring a worldie of a goal. I mean, I'll give him that at the time. And then I followed that with a 3-2 win at home to Sheffield United, a 1-1 draw, and a smash and grab, it felt like, against Burnley. A 1-0 win away at Stoke City, thanks to Ian Fleming, and a 2-2 draw at Luton after being 2-0 up on Sky. Come on then, Stephen. What's your standout memories of the month of February?
I mean, it's hard to look past the QPR game. The when Ollie Burke got the second there, that was a very, very good moment. The Sheffield United game was a great game. I think, was that on the telly as well? Was that moved for the TV? Have I got that right?
It was. Yeah. Bradshaw turned into private area on Sky.
He did. That was a very good game. And to touch on what you said about the Sunderland game, it was the first sellout. And if memory serves me well, we played really, really well that day and probably deserved to win the game. And it was unfortunate. I think George Long, who I'm sure someone will get a mention later on in the show, I think he come out for he come out for a free kick and just didn't get anywhere near it, and one of their
No,
guys headed
he
it
just
in. But
he just literally knocked their player out instead. So yeah, their player had to go off. So he got subbed after that. So
Luton again, I think that was a little bit of a that was a disappointing one. That was the one that got away. Really, we probably should have won there. Cian Fleming scored a good goal against Stoke, but overall, that was a good month. We picked up quite a few points, and the momentum again, as you touched on, Omar, really started to ramp up. I think if looking at the fixtures here, we only lost one game in February, so
Correct.
we had a particularly good month.
We did indeed. Dan, anything to add on February before we move on to March?
well, it's that kind of Millwall turn at the new year. So hopefully we kind of replicate that for the rest of January and into February in terms of having a strong start to the new year, picking up more points than we do usually in the first half of the season. I think, as Stephen said, QPR, I think it was our first win there since the 80s, I think it was. So to be there was obviously a great moment. Fantastic when Burke knocked in that second, and Sheffield United was a brilliant moment as well. Obviously, late goal, it doesn't get much better than that, does it? The Sheffield United game, that's going to probably come up again a bit later in conversation, I think. But Luton, and then obviously we're going to touch on March. That Luton game where we was 2-0 up and obviously ended up getting pegged back to 2-2. That just, looking back at it now, it feels like that was the start of it, doesn't it? But we'll discuss it a bit more
little
now.
bit, yeah.
It
A
felt like it
little
was
bit, because
fortuitous to be
I
up
think
2
our
for that game.
performances were quite good up until Luton and the first game in March. I'm keeping everyone a little bit content to see if they can remember. But the performances for that Luton game, the first one in March, were good. It was after them games where our performances started to drop, I would say.
Yeah, I think the Luton game, it felt fortuitous to be 2-0 up, I think, if it serves me right. I mean, they were obviously the dominant possession side and knocking on the door. We got lucky with the keeper making a mistake for the first goal, and then Bradshaw scored, didn't he? Second goal, I think, if I'm not
It was
mistaken. So,
offside as well.
yeah, correct.
That
So,
was
I mean,
offside.
felt like a smash and grab. We couldn't hold on, and then as you say, it started to turn. But I do want to shout out Stoke away as well. I've always been Stoke when it's freezing cold, and it was a good atmosphere. I felt like it was like 500-600 of us there. One of those away games where, it's nice when there's 2,000-3,000 of you behind the goal, but when there's 600 of you that you know the friendly faces and stuff as such, and you're there cheering them on, and obviously Fleming gave us that goal. And I remember the second half right at the death, which it's like a stand-up moment where George Homer's bombing down the right hand side, wins us a corner, and just like almost celebrated just as much as we celebrated the goal at the time. So that was I felt like a good moment of the season for me, a good moment of 2023 for me. Just giving you a little hint into my prediction, my things I'm giving on later on in the show. Let's move on to March. We started off with a 3-2 defeat at home to Norwich City. I think they were probably the better side, if I remember. I think we knocked on the door a bit, but they showed their clinicalness in front of goal. If that's the right word to say. But obviously, I think they went 3-1 up at one point. Actually, they did, and Fleming scored towards the end in a 3-2 defeat. We then won 1-0 at the Medeski Stadium, courtesy of Fogel-Sammer scoring a penalty, a great penalty as well, typical from the German.
Unreal.
2-1 win at home to Swansea in the midweek after that, followed by a 1-0 defeat at home to Huddersfield at the hands of Danny Wards. And then that preceded the end of March before the international break. So, yeah, I touched on a few moments there, guys. I mean, obviously, Andreas Fogel-Sammer's penalty is probably my standout of March overall. What do you reckon, Dan? Anything else that sticks in the memory?
Yeah, well, I mean, that Norwich game was my birthday, so it wasn't the ideal way to celebrate your 21st, I don't think, was it? But I think that was kind of the game where after that, after getting pegged back at Luton and then after losing to Norwich in a game where I didn't think we really deserved to lose, to be honest, that's almost when our confidence seemed to drop a little bit, when we kind of almost started to run out of steam. Because at Reading, I don't think we played well that day. Obviously, we won and we dug in well, but it didn't. From memory, it wasn't a great performance. And then the Swansea game, I mean, I wasn't there. I was the only home game I didn't attend actually in last season. It might have been the only home game I didn't attend in 2023 because I was away with work. But I remember watching back the highlights, and I just remember they took like two. Even their goal was just a really bad goal from a defensive point of view to concede. So I think that was really the turning point. And then Huddersfield seemed to be the first nail in the coffin, I think, to be completely honest.
Huddersfield, we got Warnocked, didn't we, Stephen? I don't know if you remember, but it was. I think we smashed them all over the park pretty much. Just couldn't score a goal for love nor money. And Danny Ward scores, and it was Warnock with the classic. I came in with a plan. I kept Fleming quiet, and all that the kind of quotes he comes out with, and done the job on us, didn't he?
I actually think Huddersfield was the beginning of us the failing of not making it into the top six. I think we'll come on to the next month, but I think that was the start of a run of 4 games without scoring a goal and without winning a game. And it just felt like that the crowd was really up for that. It was the typical, you knew it was a team at the bottom of the league that we usually struggle against, but there was also, you felt we were going to win because with the way the season was going. And when that ended 1-0, I think that to me was a real hammer blow, because it did put us in a bit of a slump of form that had we have won one of those games or found a goal against Huddersfield, things could have been a little bit different for us. But we certainly got wall knocked, and he was very, very smug about it. If I remember rightly,
He was.
When's he not? He's always been smug after that Muscat incident, hasn't he?
Forgive me if I start to get PTSD reading out these results for April, because it's giving me flashbacks that I didn't want to relive them, but we'll do it for the sake of the podcast.
Because we only played one game in May. If you're going to get PTSD, let's just get it done with. Let's just get it done with.
Okay, right. So we drew 0-0 away at West Brom. I don't remember much from the game, to be honest. It kind of felt like just a bit of a
wasn't a good game. It wasn't a good game.
It wasn't.
No.
We then drew 0-0 at home to Luton on, I think, Easter Monday, or maybe Easter Friday, or one or the other.
It was the Friday.
It was the Friday, because on the Monday I decided to go to Hull City away and see George Long concede from 25 yards. Thank you for that, Dan. That is correct.
What's new there?
And we lost 1-0 away to Hull City. It got a bit better with a 2-0 win over Preston, thinking, right, we're back in the mix. And I think we was in the playoffs, obviously, and we're like, here we go. We then lost 1-0 at home to Birmingham. Lucas Djukowicz, of course, always causing us problems. And I'm not going to be able to pronounce his name properly, so don't ask me to. That's the best you're going to get from me.
That was pretty good, actually.
Better than Mickey would be anyway, so we'll take that one. So, and then
that clipped.
Yeah, we will, don't worry. And then PTSD sets in properly here with a 2-1 defeat at Wigan. I remember being just as angry as I was at Hull, if not more. And it's like the anger of just thinking, you need one win, boys. Get over the line. Come on. And thinking we're in trouble here. But then we managed to claw it out of nowhere. A nice Friday night out in Blackpool was 2 to back it up with a 3-2 win at Blackpool away. Bradshaw with 2. What more of great assist in that game? Sticks in the memory, obviously, for Bradshaw's goal. And Fleming scored a penalty. And then
that afternoon in May, I think we'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, and then that afternoon in May. Yeah, we'll get to May for May the 8th. Don't worry. Yeah, so I think I've touched on a few moments there. Standouts: George Long being shit in goal for me, boys. Stephen, over to you, mate.
Wigan away was one of the worst days of my life. Going up there, I met Ben. Although that was when Ben met Tom Bradshaw's mum.
Okay,
so we did get something good out of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Birmingham at home, that was poor, and not only was it a poor result, he scored from literally the touchline. It seems that how he managed to
Long pushed it in. That's why Long pushed it in the net.
Blackpool, obviously, we give ourselves hope, and the results went for us, so we had the opportunity to make the top 6. But it just felt, if you again going through those results in April, just looking at it here, 2 draws, 3 defeats. It wasn't the end of the season that we needed. Again, another opportunity to maybe look back and go, we lost it in the Birmingham game, the Wigan game, but so many of those opportunities seem to pass us by. But I won't mention too much on May 8th. I'm sure we'll come to that a little bit later on. But again, we put ourselves in a position that we could have done it, and obviously we didn't. But I think there was opportunities way before then that we've already gone through.
I hope I'm not misquoting him, but I feel like walking out of Hull, it was one of the first times I met Ben properly in person, and he was quite positive, thinking, we had loads of chances, mate, we should have scored. And I was like, I don't give a shit how many chances we fucking had, and I was a bit worse away at the time as well, I'm pretty sure. We lost the game. All we had to do was not lose. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't lose these games. Like, these are the games you need to be still in them, and we lost through. Yeah, I mean, people called me harsh at the time for blaming Long. I remember it, and I was like, no, it's from 25, 30 yards out. He should be saving that shot, and yeah, there we go. Dan, anything to add on April, mate? I mean, I'm kind of done talking about it, but we're going to get onto the worst part in a second, to be honest.
Not really, to be honest. I think pick any of the losses as a low point. I obviously May the 8th is a complete low point that I really hope I'll never ever have following this bastard football club ever again. But you can pick any of the other losses, and they're equally as low as each other.
Losing at Wembley is the worst thing ever, right? And I won't. But it's kind of a shit question because it is the worst thing ever. But losing the way we did against Blackburn or one of the
Yeah.
playoff final defeats? What is worse? Like
Blackburn, 100%. For me, Blackburn, because you boys are a little bit older. I don't know whether you would have been and seen us in the Championship playoff finals, in the Championship playoffs in the early 2000s. I was too young. I wasn't even born for some of them, so I didn't go.
ridiculous.
So for me to see Millwall that close to the Premier League and then just completely throw it away, it just that feels worse for me.
I think that
I
heartbreak
would
against
say,
Barnsley was quite difficult to
And
take for
I
me.
think they say Wembley's a terrible place to lose. I feel like in your own stadium, in your own backyard, it's even worse.
Yeah, it's a good
I,
question, I think, isn't it, Stephen? I don't know. What do
I,
you think?
it is, but I actually was going to say the Scunthorpe result hurt me more
Yeah.
because that was the first one that we'd got, apart from the auto windscreen and then obviously the cup final. But back at Wembley, we were there in '99. And it was the first playoff. We got to the new Wembley. It was the first time we were there. Alexander scored that goal, and that is up. That it's a hard question, but the Scunthorpe playoff game and Blackburn are probably the two worst days ever following the football team for me. Barnsley was tough because it was Harris and the occasion, and obviously we had the injuries in the warm up and stuff. But the Scunthorpe game and Blackburn were just, it was just heartbreak.
Tough pills.
Heartbreak.
There's your question to you listeners and viewers anyway. If you got 3 games picked from, put it in tier order. First being the worst, third being the bit more tolerable but still unbearable. So you've got Blackburn at home where we lose 4-3 after being 3-1 up at half time. Yeah, that happened. And then you've also got Scunthorpe defeat in the playoff final 3-2 in 2009, and you've also got the 3-1 defeat at the hands of Barnsley. I think Barnsley was tough to take just because Adam Hamill, personally, that fucking wanker that sticks in my memory. See, it comes back out on me. Adam Hamill.
He's nearly thrown his phone there.
I know, I did. I was it's just my new phone. I'm just ready to throw it. Adam Hamill that day. Enough of that. Let's get on to May the 8th. We lose 4-3, chaps. We're 3 up at half time. My last in memory, and it's not even like I told you so moment because it's not, but I remember being downstairs at half time and like classic South Lower, and you got the SE16 bars open at half time to us to have a drink and stuff like that. Everyone's like, fucking come on. And they're all buzzing. And don't get me wrong, I was buzzing too. But I kept saying to everyone, I think some people checking train times to try and work out what game we're going to get because you're playing on a certain day, whatever, to go to the away game. I'm like, lads, it's Millwall. It's Millwall. And then I deep down, I'm like, but surely we can't fuck this up. But I'm like, I'm refusing to be as excited. It's a bit like when you're winning away from home, going, how shit must you be when winning away? I refuse to sing that sort of chant until the end of the game.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm that kind. I'm the most pessimistic but positive Millwall fan because I'm always glass half full about us. But that was my last in memory. I remember some people checking train times. What time train are you going to get, mate? I'm like, don't talk to me till after the game. Like, and there you go. We throw it away. Come on, Stephen, talk to me. I think you're ready to come in, mate.
The worst moment for me in that game, and it might surprise you, but I don't think it will, was actually Blackburn's third goal. Because that was the goal really that knocked us out of the playoffs, because we had to, at that point we needed to win, because I think the way that the other results had gone, like
when they were winning by that point.
Yeah. When they scored the second goal, it was like, okay, we're still in the playoffs. It's still up to us. But that moment that third goal went in, the people around me, I sit South Upper, and everyone was just slumped in the chairs. It was just at that point, because I think without plugging another show, but that Rowett spoke recently on a podcast to say the momentum, you could feel the momentum had changed, and at that point, when you thought, how are we ever going to turn this back around and go out the other end and make it 4-3 to us? Obviously, the fourth goal goes in, and I think it's just utter disbelief as to what they managed to do. But for me, the worst moment was the third goal, because that was the killer blow.
It just felt like we never had the ball either. Like second half, it just felt like it was just onslaught, constant from them, and we couldn't get out. I remember there was no hope.
I remember pretty much, and I'm gonna say this, and then we are gonna draw a line under it, because this should never ever be discussed on a Millwall podcast, to be completely honest with you. But I just think the one time we pretty much went forward in the second half, they just went and hit us on the counter attack and scored our fourth, and scored their fourth. And I just turned to my dad and was like, "Should we go?" And my dad was like, yeah, that was it. That was it. You've gone from, as you said at our time, Amy, thinking about, because it would have been Luton in the playoffs, a team that we're, we've had some good games against them over 2 legs, them coming back, them playing at the Den. You might have fancied it, but anyhow, moving on.
The 4 substitutes we made that day, just to put perspective onto our season:
God.
Tyler Bury, Scott Malone, Mason Bennett, and Andres Fogshammer. Fuck me. It was. Do you know what? I don't often credit him on the show, but Gary Rowett, to get within that close when you bring them 4 subs on to chase a game, I'll give you it, because the rest of the subs were George Evans, Jamie Shackleton, and Bart Bilkowski. It's crazy, isn't it?
Jesus.
Tyler Bury I think that was that day, wasn't it, where that whole thing with the fans as well? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the end for him.
For Tyler Bury.
No, it'd been the beginning of the end for him for a while, but that was it. That was that.
I think that was because it was the moment where everyone was starting to turn on them, wasn't they? I think. Well, let's talk about transfers actually, then lead us on to that then. So, in fact, actually, I'm going to go to the summer, obviously, as a whole. And a main talking point, obviously, was the untimely death of John Berylson. I think we'll share that. We all spoke about it on the shows in the summer, and it's a main talking point, so it's going to come out naturally for 2023. But I mean, Dan, just obviously a real kind of rocky moment for the club, I suppose, wasn't it, when it came through? I think the start of July.
Yeah, a real tough moment for the club and everyone who has been associated with it, everyone who still is associated with it. Obviously, saw a huge outpour of emotion from the football world, and obviously, in particular, those connected to the club. I think it spoke volumes, the amount of ex-players that came down to sign the book of condolence and lay flowers down at the ground. And I think, again, I'm going to mention the Rowett interview again that Stephen mentioned there, but Gary said on that podcast, the club just hasn't felt the same. There's absolutely nothing against James. I get on really well with him, but the club just hasn't felt the same since John's very sad passing. So, yeah, obviously thoughts are still with the Berylson family, and I hope John's resting well.
That's it, and I think Stephen, that's it. Just kind of highlights, obviously, the real kind of, the 2023 as a whole, just such an unpredictable year for Mill, and one that many would never have wanted to happen, obviously, with John Berylson.
I would go as far as to say that's probably one of the biggest moments in the last decade for the football club, maybe even beforehand. He was a mainstay. He was just there for so long and carried the club. He carried the fight with Lewisham Council. He'd fight for us with the FA. He was just there. And unfortunately, the news come through. And I remember us guys, when it come through on our chat on WhatsApp, and all of us were just like, what? No, it can't be true. And Rowett, he did say it didn't feel the same. I think that's had a massive impact on us without, deterring from the subject matter. I think that's had a big impact on us so far this season, but huge defining moment in the club's history, because at that point, everything had to change because we didn't have John at the helm. Just to echo what Dan said, thoughts still with his family. It still must be very, very difficult. It's not even been a year. And just hope that he's perhaps in a better place wherever he is.
Absolutely. I reckon obviously what you both saying. We've all said on countless occasions on this show, because we dearly miss you, John. Let's steer it back to the football then. Obviously, departures. I'm going to test you guys again. Who wants to list some departures? You can go tit for tat if you want. Go one each. Dan, who left in the summer window? Give me one name.
Bury.
Stephen?
Andreas Bogelsummer.
Correct. Dan?
George Evans.
Yep. Stephen?
Mason Bennett.
Yep. Dan?
Scott Malone.
Yes. Stephen?
On loan, Alex Mitchell.
We said Tyler Bury, didn't we, as well, right? Did Tyler Bury get said?
Yeah, he said it first.
Cool. Alex Mitchell left on loan. Correct. And I think, and the one really.
Hang on. No, there's one more. There's one more, and I'm looking forward to saying the name, and it's George Long.
Yeah. Yeah, correct. George Long was obviously the one more that I was going to say. So, and obviously, it does say on transfer marked as well. Ryan Sanford was released, but he never played a game for us, Ryan. So, where's he now? Anyone know?
He's just signed for Crawley Town today, actually.
Excellent.
Playing for
See,
Dartford, and then he's just signed for Crawley today.
Excellent. Well, there you go.
Omar,
hands on the pulse.
Omar, mate, you're gonna have to repeat that because either me froze or everyone else froze.
No, Omar, it just sort of sounded like a whisper and then nothing.
I froze there.
Edit this bit out.
We're gonna leave it in.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if we we'll see if we edit it out. We'll see if we edit it out. 29 minutes in. Right. Anyway, arrivals. I won't test you, boys. Casper Den arrived from Leuven in Belgium. Kevin Nisbet finally joined after chasing the whole of January, like we said earlier on. Matthias Sarkic joined, Joe Bryan, Wes Harding, and then obviously the loans of Alan Campbell, Ryan Longman, Brooke, Norton, Cuffy. We all know this because they all play for us now. So, thoughts overall? I mean, it's obviously going to weigh into our views of the rest of 2023, but how was the summer window for you boys, do you think, overall? It's a bit of an open-ended question, that one. So, whoever wants to jump in, feel free.
Go on, Dan.
I'd say probably more good than bad, to be completely honest. I think most of the players have came in and had a positive impact. Obviously, judging where we were last season, you would have hoped that maybe they could have been difference makers. And, we're only halfway through the season, so there's a chance they still could be. But I think overall it's more positive. I think if we're going back to the out of 10 question, I'd probably give it a 7, I think, at this point.
For sure. Worth mentioning that, obviously, when you look back at our squad for Blackburn, and I said the players that played, you've got a lot of departures there. Long's no longer with us. Callum Starr's no longer with us. Ollie Burt no longer with us. And then obviously you've got the 4 on the bench that I mentioned. So 7 out of the 15 players involved that day. I mean, quite an upheaval, Stephen, and kind of highlights, I suppose, a real transitional season, like we mentioned, off the pitch, obviously for the wrong reasons, but on the pitch too, real transitional season.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I think in terms of the players that we've brought in, the quality in a few of them at least is there to be seen. I don't know if you mentioned. Did you mention Wes Harding as well? Also joined the club.
Yeah.
I think the players that come in have been, or some of them have been very good. I just think we fell into the trap of Rowett building a squad that didn't have any wingers really. And tried to go back to he's tried and tested 5 at the back. I don't necessarily think that's the player's fault. He brought in who he wanted to play in that system. I think the transfer dealings were hampered severely by obviously what we spoke about with Berylson passing. But we ended up with where we did. I would agree with Dan. I think around probably 6 or 7 for the transfer window, on the basis that a couple of the players that have come in, you can really see have been an improvement on what we had previously.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, the departures, I think we got rid of a lot of deadwood, really, when you think about it. Well, considered deadwood. Maybe if Tyler Bury stayed or someone like Bennett stayed, who knows? Maybe under Edwards, it could be a very different story. You don't know that, and we'll never know, I guess. But yeah, I think obviously that's the end of that chapter for regards to transfers. Let's crack on with the results. We got us a flyer. Roman Esse scored in a 1-0 win away at Middlesbrough. Great away day, obviously. And then followed with a 4-0 defeat at the hands of Reading, League One Reading.
And not just even League One Reading, Reading's kids. Reading's practically their under-21 team. And also Millwall side that had hardly any changes from the win over Middlesbrough, for what it's worth as well, if memory serves me right. So football, eh?
Millwall, eh? I don't even think you can say football now. I think you got to say Millwall. You got to. We then lost 1-0 at home to Bristol City to make things even better in our first home league game of the season. Obviously, the memorial for Berylson prior to the game was obviously impeccably reserved. Me and Dan then proceeded to leave relatively early after going 3-0 down to Norwich in a 3-1 defeat, Dan, didn't we?
Just before the hour mark, I think we dipped out.
There we go. We missed the Maku's goal that day, his first goal for
the club. I'm going to jump in there.
Not even just left the ground. We was out of Norwich by the point.
We was on the train by then.
I'm going to jump in there and say that I stayed till the end because I had a mate in the Norwich end that I was given a lift home to. So I did see a Maku's goal, but it wasn't particularly good. And that was the day before my birthday as well. So happy birthday to me.
I got treated. There we go. I got treated to the company of Dan on the train home, which was a pretty sight as always. We then beat Stoke City 1-0 to end off August. Kevin Nisbet get his first goal for the club. Yeah, August, chaps. Results. Talk to me. SA scoring, brilliant at the start of the season. And then from there, a bit up and down, I suppose, Stephen.
I'm going to say that the best thing about August for me was the fact that I was on the front of the programme in the Stoke game for the 30th anniversary. I got pelters for it, and probably rightly so, but I was asked to do it, and it's something cool to be part of the history. So that was probably the best part of August for me. As I say, Norwich, one of my best mates supports them, travelling there. We never win there, so I don't know why I keep doing it to myself, but hey ho, it's life.
See you there next season.
Yeah, see you there next season, absolutely. And as I say, we all thought, didn't we, with Maku and SA in that first game, we really thought that they'd get more opportunities and we'd see the best of them. It was fantastic to get off to a winning start and for SA to score the first goal of the season, but didn't quite work out for certainly for SA that as we all thought. I'd never ever want to discuss. I'm adding Reading losing 4-0 at home to Reading's kids to the ban list moving forward because that was an awful night. Absolutely shocking.
Actually, that reminds me, that was another game we departed early from, mate.
It was in the pub, weren't we? By the time it was 4-0, I'm pretty sure. But you know, like this is the theme of 2023, leaving early. I suppose I don't often do it, if I'm totally honest with you. But just
I mean, I'm looking.
Mate, you can't say that. You can't say that when you've said about 6 times now. I left early this one. I was in the pub at this one. I was on the train at this one.
I've got the list of fixtures in front of me now. There's quite a few I did leave early for.
I was at Tenterhooks with Gary Rowett, I think, towards the end. That's what I'm going to put myself down to here. I think I'll be brutally honest. And I can't use that excuse for being 3-0 down, leaving at half time against Ipswich, but we were 3-0 down against Ipswich at half time. So depends how you look at that one.
three goals down, in my eyes. If you're 3 goals down, then that's game.
That's my New Year's resolution, although I've already broke it for the cup game. I'd not to leave early.
Only 2 goals down as well.
I had our prior engagements elsewhere else. So
we won the second half, mate. We won the second half.
Maybe I need to stay away from watching Millwall. That's probably the answer here. I hope, Dan, your highlight of August wasn't Stephen being on the front of the programme, was it?
No, it wasn't. Although it was a very beautiful sight. No, it wasn't.
Thank you.
Because I wasn't at Middlesbrough, I have to pick Stoke, I think, by default, to be completely honest. But obviously good to get that first home win, obviously. I think I almost want to say Bristol City as well, just because of the emotion of the day and the tributes to JB, which were excellently observed. So, yeah, no, I'm actually, to be honest, going to pick Norwich as worse than Reading because we never really ever do well in the EFL Cup. And with Norwich being a midday kickoff on a Sunday, I had to get up at 5:30 to go and watch that. So.
What was so bizarre about it, it turned into a joke at first, but then became so serious as the game went on. My mate said before the game, we're going to lose 4-0 today. And
yeah,
he did that. You was there as well, right?
Yeah, for Reading, yeah.
He went, Reading's going to win 4-0 today. I went, no, no, fucking A. What are you on about? It's like kids. And as the game went on, it was like 2-0, 3-0. I'm like, we're going to lose 4-0. It was one of those days where just like, it's bizarrest day ever, obviously, but there you go. Classic Millwall. We then went to Birmingham in September, chaps. A 1-1 draw. Sarkic saving the penalty sticks out of the memory for that game for me. And then getting injured, obviously, after this game and not being back till later in the year as it goes. We lost 3-0 at home to Leeds. Bobby Bielkowski in goal, obviously, for that game. 3-0 win over Rotherham. Beat them twice 3-0 at the end this season. And this year, I should say. And then a 0-0 draw against West Brom, followed by a 3-0 defeat at the hands of Swansea City. Take it away, Dan. September.
Yeah, not really a
slim pickings, isn't it?
In the memory, to be completely honest. I mean, even West Brom, I know we came away with their point, but didn't play very well, and even so had the chance to take away all 3 with that penalty that Zian rolled straight to their keeper. So yeah, no, not a month that's going to live long in the memory. I think the Leeds game is we'll come on to that again later this season, but I think the Leeds game is up there for one of the worst games of the year potentially.
I think Leeds for me was the one where I'm like, right.
That was the one where I fully. I think that's the game where, you know, obviously I think after given what had happened in the summer, I wanted to give Rowett a chance, but I think after that one I was a bit like, no, you know what, I think this is it. This is the end of the road.
Something terribly wrong here because
this is the end of the road,
and we did the complete opposite, didn't we, Stephen? That Leeds game, it was just absolute dire to watch.
As Dan said, September 2023 is probably going to be a month that we don't really ever look at again in our lives.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just before we get on to October, it's not getting much better, to be honest with you.
Although what I will say
it's not. But
go on, Stephen.
Go on. Are you? I was going to say I'm interested in hearing what Dan's moment of October is.
Correct. Because what I was going to say was I think we need to let Dan read October because there's a certain picture in there that is, you know, that's just synonymous with Dan and the show. I feel like at this point. So
is it this one? Is it Plymouth Argyle 0, Millwall 2?
I don't know. It might be. Do you want to care?
Did I mention? Did I tell you guys I was there? I don't know. If I told you guys,
I'll tell you what we'll do.
Do you know what?
We'll fuck off the rest of the month and talk about right afterwards. We won't even talk about the rest of the results. Talk to me about Millwall winning 2-0 at Plymouth,
We-
fan.
Before you do that though, the worst thing
Yeah.
that Millwall could have done with that as well is that the video that they posted of the fans celebrating, his face is slap bang in the middle of it and all.
And now I'm on the big screen before every
Listen,
home
like
game.
you had your moment with the program. Dan's got his moment now with.
No, but I don't go on about it every other time we do a show. He does.
Yeah, it's only because I put it in the group chat every home game now. I see myself on the big screen like standard appearance.
Have you made
happy
yourself
days.
a gift yet? We need to get a gift going with you. And
We'll
post
get
it
a gift.
out.
I've got the little. I've got the video of it.
Yeah,
Of me.
get a
So
gift
we'll
going.
get,
No,
we'll
I
get
don't believe that. I don't believe you've got the video, Dan. No.
No, I didn't know that. Go on, Dan. Talk to me about Plymouth, mate. That's clearly your highlight of October.
I mean,
or is it
yeah.
Rat leaving? Maybe Rat leaving might be a highlight of October. You
I
tell
don't
me.
know. I mean, yeah, that's obviously a high. No, listen, for me, being down in Plymouth, just a great few days, see my mate, and to come away with a smash and grab 2-0. Doesn't really get much better than that, does it? I won't bore everyone to death. I've told everyone enough times, so yeah, I'll keep it short but sweet. But yeah, great way though.
And then obviously we'll risk off the rest of the results. 2-2 draw at home to Hull, 1-1 draw away at Preston, 2-1 defeat at the hands of Blackburn Rovers, a 2-2 draw away to Watford. What was in the final nail in the coffin for Rowett? Was it what game was it? I can't even remember for the life of me.
It was after. No, it was after
Hull.
No, it was Hull.
Hull was his last game
There
in
you go.
charge. The 2-2
But he never
draw.
really.
Oh
announced
yeah, because he went the
came,
second.
right
He
at
went
the end of the
right
international
before
break.
Preston, didn't he? Yeah, that was
Yeah.
it. Right before Preston, he went, and it was obviously pure shock. And what the fuck's happened there? Because if he's going to go, why didn't he go at the start of the international break? It was always the question we was all thinking at the time, weren't we?
What was quite funny as well is that he ended his tenure with a win and a draw. Which if you'd have got the draw at Plymouth away and then won at home against Hull, you'd have been thinking, right, that's a good way to end the before the international break.
But we was on a roll of win draw loss at that point.
Well, yeah,
Well, see, this is the IQ Garrett has. He left on a high. He knows.
Yeah,
what he's
so
doing.
he knew what was coming next. Although we did break that curse, but yeah.
I will say though that the Watford away I actually thought was a really good away day, and when Big Wes scored a goal, that was unreal scenes. Unreal in that away.
That might get a mention later on. So
if only we couldn't hold on. Why didn't we hold on?
Well, yeah, that's true. That is true. Because I thought we played quite well that day. To be fair, there was some moments.
Did you know water is wet though?
Yes, you're right. And it's a key moment. I think you're right because I felt for Barrett. I don't think he ever would have got the job, but who knows? If he won 4 games on a bounce, he might have just got the job. Who knows? And you can tell he was desperate for the job. He was making changes left, right, and centre throughout games, trying to mix it up. Fleming scored 2 goals in his short spell as caretaker manager as well, by the way, just to put that one out there, chaps. So did West Harding, but just thought I'd share that one with you lot. Yeah, I think that sums up October. I mean, obviously, the big departure was Rowett, guys, and we go into November, and up steps Joe Edwards, and he comes in after a 1-0 defeat at the hands of Southampton, our memorial game, obviously, which is always for me a highlight of the season, highlight of the year. Obviously, he scored the soldiers around the pitch with Mickey. Love that day, and it's probably always a standout for me, best moment of the year. But we then obviously have Joe Edwards' first game in charge. We all know it. Everyone remembers it.
Unreal.
Bit like my mate saying we're going to lose 4-0 today against Reading. Ben bang on about winning 6-0 all the time, and then we go 4-0.
Hang on. I said 4. You can go back and listen to it. I said 4-0 on the podcast.
And then you changed your mind. But
what we will say is
Ben
but Ben constantly said 6-0. He was constantly laying on 6-0, and I remember being up there thinking, turning to him going, this could happen.
Yeah, I know. When the 4th one went in, I remember we all sort of was just absolutely going nuts with each other, and we were going, "It's happening, Ben! It's happening!" Unreal.
I just remember I had good limbs with Ben actually that day. To be fair, it's one of we'll come on to the topics of in a moment anyway. But that was good limbs that day. To be fair, winning 4-0 away at Sheffield Wednesday. We lost there 3-0 to Coventry.
Another early departure.
Yeah. I must have probably left early that day. I don't know. I think I might stay to the end. No, I think I did. I stayed to the end because it's one of those weird games. So I stayed that game. But then Dan left early. I left early though on the 29th of November, a 3-1 defeat at the hands of Ipswich. And that sums up
Oh, I
November.
stayed for that as well.
I
Yeah.
wasn't there, but I turned my telly off at 3-0. Does that count?
Yeah,
I was stuck in the car park for an hour after kickoff. Yeah.
I mean, an hour after full time. If
Oh,
it was an
sorry, an
hour,
hour after full
if
time. Sorry,
if
an
it was
hour
an
after.
hour
Yeah,
after
yeah.
kickoff, absolute touch, mate.
No,
Turn around and go home.
hour after full time, it was awful. I'd work the next day. I have no idea why we did it in the end, but things you
yeah.
do for the club, eh?
I was definitely worse for work the next day. But hey, we move. I
You were
remember
worse for wear when you turned up, mate.
I remember seeing you pre-game. I was I was in a weird complex mind, I think, at the time. Safe to say.
Weird complex. You were looking at me like, I know you.
Listen, follow Millwall away. What can I say? What more do I need to say? Yeah. Anyway,
Moving
um,
swiftly on.
I don't think there's much point asking for highlight of November because we all know it's a 4-0 win over Sheffield Wednesday
Yeah.
and the rival Joe Edwards, obviously, culmination of that. We'll swiftly round off 2023 with December. A 1-1 draw
Busy
at
month as well, actually.
Yeah, a 1-1 draw at home to Sunderland, a 1-0 defeat away at Cardiff, a 3-2 defeat to Leicester, a 1-1 draw against Huddersfield, a 0-0 draw against Stoke, and then we finally won some games, a 2-0 victory over QPR, and saw it off with a 1-0 win over Norwich City. I think obviously just the importance of getting a couple of wins back to back there, chaps, wasn't it? Boxing Day, we really needed it, and we got it in the end, didn't we? At the hands of QPR. Go on, Stephen.
Yeah, it was a tough month for Joe Edwards. Some tough fixtures in there. I think the Huddersfield game was a particularly good memory. Not necessarily the game, but afterwards with all us or some of us boys from the pod going
Yeah,
out and end up in London Bridge. That was pretty
Cheers,
good.
Omar.
Conceding a 96-minute penalty probably wasn't the highlight of the year, but that's by and by. That's what being a Millwall fan is. Boxing Day was huge.
To be honest, Stephen, we signed it off in style, really, didn't we? Is there any other way Millwall could really have near enough signed off that year?
No, it was fantastic. Finally beating Norwich, my mate, up in the away end, all thinking smug and thinking they were going to beat us again. We were very good.
I can relate to you that day because I had some work colleagues in the Norwich end, and it was very nice to walk back into work in the new year and see them.
Mate, I was giving him a lift home. So as soon as I saw him, I was like, "No, we're humble. We don't say anything. It's all good." And then just give him an absolute barrage of abuse for actually winning the game. But December, rounding off 2023, interesting year for the club. Ended it the right way with a win,
Finished on
and
a high,
a couple of wins that really did give us a boost. Obviously, going on to the next, we won 3 in a row, obviously, with the next game after that. But those two results were very, very key.
Talking points of 2023, home form, I guess, is a real one for us, wasn't it? I mean, I ain't got the numbers in front of me, but that really kind of sticks in the memory. Obviously, wasn't really a good hunting ground for us, our home patch, was it, in 2023, Dan?
No, not great.
No.
Known it a lot better. So, hopefully we turn the corner with that. QPR and Norwich wins, and even Leicester wasn't a bad performance, was it? So hopefully we've turned a corner. Hopefully, new year, new Millwall.
We talk about standout moments in the sense that, Stephen, like games wise and results wise, it's all like for me Stoke away, Cardiff away, Sheffield Wednesday away, and it's kind of that kind of sums up our year, I think, in the sense, isn't it? The away form was obviously much better, and obviously away days are more enjoyable anyway, I feel like, but it kind of feels like a real talking point for 2023 where the Den turned into the anti-fortress. What's another word for against fortress? That turned into our sloppy patch, I suppose. I'm trying to think of words here to say it, but we should probably
the Lions continue to get tamed at their own den, in their own den.
The journalists will come up with a headline for us and tagline. Go on, Stephen.
Away, I think you're right. When you go away from home with Millwall, I'm sure every other fan will say about their club, but when you go away from home, it's fantastic, especially when you get a decent following or you get a good result or, things happen. It's just unreal. And unfortunately, we had more of those moments away from home than what we did at home. Ultimately, I think the home form at the back end of last season cost us dearly with the playoffs, and the home form this season. I mean, if you look at our away form and where we are in the table in this current season, if we'd have had even just a 50% improvement on our home form, we could be really challenging for the top 6. So as Dan said, hopefully new year, new Millwall, couple of results at home, a good performance against Leicester in the cup, obviously 2024. Need to get back to making it difficult for teams to come away with points from the Den, and who knows what will happen if we can hold that away form as well.
How many games did Mill win away from home this season, guys? This year, 2023.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Without the list in front of me, I'm going to go 10.
It's lower.
I was
Is
going
it?
to say 8. Is it 8?
I think it's 7. I've only just
Okay.
skimmed it and counted as quick as possible, but 7 wins away from home in 2023, which is not a bad return. And
Feels like more, actually.
I mean,
Maybe
considering
it's
we went
both
through
I think
bad
that.
at home.
because they're so euphoric when we do win away from home, I think that's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
what it is, isn't it? So
The
they,
celebrations last a while.
I listed
Mm.
3 or 4. I didn't even say about QPR. I didn't say about Plymouth there, and so the away games always stick in
Wait,
my memory more.
Plymouth? Did we win that
I'd
one?
say, yeah. Well,
Right, I think we'll wrap up. I don't know how to call this section here. What are we calling it? Is this our?
well, we're just that Millwall Podcast Awards of 2023.
Awards of 2023.
Yeah,
There you go.
that's it.
We've got 8 different candidate. No, 8 different
Categories.
categories. Thank you. I'm not. You can tell I'm not a poet. I'm not a wordsmith. I'm a poet. We're gonna get on. We're gonna crack
Because
on.
you work with words for a living.
Yeah, thank God for that. Right, we've got 8 different categories as we just as discussed there, and we're going to go over each one and give some standout picks from that for each topic. So straight away, number 1, best goal. Who wants to go first on that one? I'll go to you, Stephen.
For me, and I don't think it's any real surprise, it's George Saville's goal at Sheffield Wednesday. We'd all been called, well, I'd certainly been calling for him to come back in the team. I think he'd been in a couple of weeks before, maybe the week before, and that ball dropped perfectly for that man's left foot, and just unreal scenes when that hit the back of the net. I know people will say about the position of the keeper. I don't care. It's the best goal he scored in 2023, in my opinion, of course.
Is this the moment where I say I missed it, trying to get a pint before half time?
I knew that. I did. Yeah. And Ben did as well. Was he with
Yeah.
you?
Yeah,
I
Ben
think both
was
of you.
going
I
Yeah,
was going down to join them, and I had the perfect view because I just stepped onto the staircase as it fell onto his left foot. I had the perfect view of it.
Listen,
So,
every away day with Millwall is a party, all right? And sometimes you miss the moments of magic. What can I say? Dan, what's your pick for best goal?
well, so just for the context of listeners, we're all going to try and pick a different contender each, so you can all have the benefit of voting on them in the comments on Twitter. So I'm going to go for Romain Esse's goal away at Middlesbrough on the opening day of the season.
Very nice.
Just a brilliant goal, very well taken. Great work by Idemo to set up the goal. Was it even Billy Mitchell who played the ball out to Idemo?
It might have
I
been.
can't remember.
Yeah, down the left-hand side.
So that was a goal made in Calmont Road. Yeah, I think that's one of the best goals I think we've scored. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one as my goal of 2023.
I know you're good with your words and taglines, but a goal made in Calmont Road just doesn't have any good ring to it, does it?
It doesn't, does it?
And also, didn't Amaku, we signed him from Ireland, so
Yeah, but he played for the under 23. He played for the under 23s quite a bit last season.
Yes, stick it to him. Best goal, I'm stuck between 2 because obviously I want to make it a 3 to choose from. I'll give you both of them and I actually ask you guys to help me decide it. I've got Sean Fleming against Stoke. I think Saville does good work, wins the ball. Fleming travels unaided and obviously not, uncontested as well. So, which kind of takes it for me, but it was still a great finish. I think for me, that's probably my pick. But the other one was Duncan Watmore against QPR because just felt like a big goal, good finish, and obviously he only just arrived to us as well. So, who do you think? I think Fleming. I'm going to go for my one. I think, chaps.
I would probably agree with you there. They're 2 decent contenders. But I think if we're being, I think Fleming is the better goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Next one is best game.
Go on, Ivy. You kick us off for best game.
Yeah, you do this one. Yeah.
It's easy though, isn't it? Sheffield Wednesday away. I think it doesn't get better than that. And if you don't go for Plymouth away, then I don't know why we have on it. But
well, no, because we've got best game and best away day. I've tried to differentiate it a little bit. So for best game, I've gone for Sheffield United at home when we won 3-2 earlier this season.
I like it.
Something just felt proper Millwall about that day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, I like that. So obviously Sheffield Wednesday, Sheffield United at home, 2 Sheffield sides there, but on the wrong side of the Lions. And then for you, Stephen, who's your best game of?
So on the basis that again picking away, Sheffield United was one I had jotted down. Sheffield Wednesday was also another one that I had jotted down. But I'm going to go with the last game of 2023, Millwall 1 Norwich 0. I felt that Ashley Barnes brought out the best of Millwall Football Club Thank you very much, Mr. Barnes. It brought the fans together, it brought the players together, and I think it could end up being a catalyst for Edwards to really kick on, and it was the perfect way to end the year. Also mentioned too, I thought that night Brooke Norton-Cuffy was absolutely outstanding and a standout performance to end the year for me.
There you have it. All right then, Dan. Best away day.
Yeah, it can't be anything else, really, can it? I'm giving one of you boys a free hitter on a different game. But yeah, for me, absolutely has to be Plymouth. And I think, to be honest, if you was one of the 600 that was down at Plymouth that night, then you would probably agree with me.
I think I'm struggling to narrow it down to one away day, but Stephen, off you go to give me what your best away day is.
For me, QPR at the start of the season, the 2-1, when Ollie Burke scored that second goal. I actually thought we played really well, probably better than 2-1, if that makes any sense. I thought we could have actually been maybe 3 or 4, but the whole thing. I think Dan mentioned earlier we hadn't won there for a long time, since the 80s, and when that second goal hit the back of the net, it was just an unreal moment. So yeah, QPR away for me.
I promise I'm not cheating, but I'm gonna go Sheffield Wednesday again for
Yeah.
best game and best away
Oh,
day because
right.
I think it is valid for the podcast joke. The internal podcast joke, I'm gonna say Hull away because that's the ongoing joke amongst us lot. We'll never deviate into why, but yeah,
We'll see you all in Hull in a couple of weeks.
we'll see. We'll be there. Hull away, we'll be there. So yeah, Sheffield Wednesday away for me for best away day because I think it's probably the culmination of all emotions and getting that win, new manager, no better feeling, and a great day in Sheffield. And yeah, moving on, best limbs. I'll come to you first, Stephen. What's your best limbs of 2023? Please don't nick my one. I'll let you go first.
You've said that now, and I know you're going to go. This is it. The best limbs for me, and this is going to be a bit of a surprising one, was Wes Harding's goal against Watford.
Ooh.
When that ball come over and hit the back of the net, there's videos on Twitter and YouTube of the celebrations, just absolutely phenomenal. We obviously didn't have a manager, but that ball hit the back of the net, and you just thought we were going to win the game, and it was unreal for me. Unreal.
Like it. I'm gonna go next, Dan, because I don't want mine to get nicked. And I hate to bring this day up again because it's the worst day ever, but Ollie Burke 3-1 against Bristol Blackburn Rovers was unbelievable limbs for the Den as well, because we talk about the Den and not the atmosphere being a bit naff. I'm not normally this kind of person, but I had bruises up my legs for 2 weeks after that game because I fell forward 2 rows because it was like the best limbs I think I've seen at the Den since Huddersfield at home when we scored it and Robinson scored that header. It just was sheer delirium, and everyone was like, "Oh my fucking god, here we are, this is it." And like I think you'll do well to beat that one if I'm totally honest. I know Watford's a good shout, and I know a lot of people don't want to think back to that day, but that thought of being 3-up at half time, but also that goal in particular, because Burke's gone through, finished it with a plum as well, thinking, Jesus Christ, it's happening. It's happening. And I even get goosebumps now thinking about it. Despite hating that day so much, that moment when we went 3-1 up was impeccable against Blackburn Rovers. Go on, Dan.
Yeah, both of them are on my lists. I do agree with absolutely everything you've said about the Ollie Burke goal. So it's going to allow me to list off a couple, which I'm going to have to obviously pick out of one of them. So I've gone for Brooke Norton-Cuffy v Sheffield Wednesday, George Saville v Plymouth Argyle, and another mention for Ollie Burke, this time for his goal against QPR. Again, 3 good limbs. I think I'm going to just edge it, not for George Saville, I'm going to edge it for Brooke Norton-Cuffy. I think for that goal at Sheffield Wednesday, we was all there. It was a great day.
I think Sheffield Wednesday might get a clean sweep, for some of these polls. I can feel it. But I think Ollie Burke's limbs, it does need its context, I think, because it was
that's it.
No, I would agree. I would agree.
We'll win the poll because of what happened that day, but for the context, 100%, I am fully with you.
Right. Next up is best business. I struggle to think what to put for best business. I think I'm going to go with.
Also, let's just give the context out to the listeners. So, best business. So, because we haven't made an absolute plethora of signings, we decided to go with best signing, best departure, or best contract extension, just to broaden out the fields a little bit for us.
Do you want the best signings for me, though, Dan? And this is a very glass half full and very positive one. It's the appointment of Joe Edwards as Millwall manager or Millwall head coach. There you go. I'm going to be very positive because 2024 is going to be one of those years we look back on and go, what the fuck was that year? It's going to be an unbelievable year for Millwall because Joe Edwards is in charge because we appointed him in 2023. There you are. Okay. Dan, what's your one, mate?
I'm kind of torn between 2 now. I'll throw the other one in once Stephen said his. But I'm gonna go in terms of best business. I'm gonna go for Casper because he just looks. I just think he just looks a cut above at this level, to be completely honest.
Well, we'll see. It seems full of confidence at the moment, so hopefully that does prove the case when he comes back very soon. Well, Stephen?
For me, it's a little bit of a rogue one, and before the comments get at me, let me explain. I think the signing of Idamoa Maku, yes, the deal was, I think, agreed in the December of 2022, but he didn't officially become a Millwall player until January the 1st. I think it was a very brave move for the club to go to Ireland, a league that, let's face it, it's not spoken about at the same levels as other leagues out there. We'd sent scouts to obviously go and watch him. And at the moment, I think it's looking like a very, very good piece of business. Raw talent, pacey. There's goals in him, I think, and we managed to do that and get him in under the radar. And I don't think any other clubs had perhaps been linked with him at all. So a good coup from the club on January the 1st, 2023.
Definitely. Absolutely. I was going to say for best business was agreeing to mutually terminate Gary Rout's contract, just for be a bit of joking around there. But
that's also on my list. But another one I think that will go down well, I think it's got to be said, was obviously Jules Long's departure. Not much more really needs to be said other than thanks Norwich City.
Well, to go into the next one, worst business, mine was offering 3 goalkeepers new contracts. Worst business from 2023.
That's a rogue one. I'm going next.
I've gone because I've got a bit of deviation there, but I think it is a rogue one. But we obviously committed to George Long as number 1 goalkeeper, committed to Bart Bilkowski as backup, and had Conor Truman as well sign a new contract all at the same time. And in hindsight, it probably was a bad decision and not the worst business, but for me, I think it's I think it's a key moment of 2023.
Yeah, for me, it's Alan Campbell. I think it's quite obvious, to be completely honest. He just hasn't turned into the player we all thought he was going to be, and taking up a loan slot. We're probably paying his wages. It just seems like a bit of a waste of time for everyone.
Why hasn't he gone back yet? I know we're not doing that today, but why hasn't he gone back
yet?
I don't think even Luton want him. I don't think even Luton want him.
To be honest, if he hasn't gone back and it's the 9th of January, unless a club comes in for him with a good permanent offer, I don't think he'll be going anywhere.
Stephen?
For me, I touched on it earlier. I thought the fact that we chased Kevin Nisbet for all of last January, when it was clear that we needed a little bit of a push. Previously, the year before, we didn't do much business in the January before, and it cost us. So this time you thought, right, we're really going to go for it. They identified a player, and they took him so long to try and sort it all out. And then with 3 days before the window closed, this bit deal fell through. And I think that was a little bit of a blow. Yes, Watmore, it looks to be a shrewd signing. Obviously, we got Burke as well that we touched on, but to chase one player and for it to fall through at a time where a striker coming in really could have made a difference to our season, just really poor for me.
Putting that into context on a Twitter poll would be great. So
can I? It's not going to go on the Twitter poll, but can I add a bit of a rogue one in there very quickly? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say Joe Bryan.
Wow. Okay.
You gone big
because
so far.
Yeah. Well, I've gone big. Well,
so far,
because put it simply, we knew he had his injury problems, but he's missed a lot of football. We look a much better team when he's playing, and he just hasn't played enough, really, has he? He's going to be probably one of the bigger earners at the club as well. There's a good player in there, and when he's played, he has looked good. But we need him more on the pitch. So yeah, for that reason, I have to put Joe Bryan. I think not as my number 1, but I think if you're looking for a bit more of an outside of the box one, I think that's one that maybe you could pick.
Cool. Right. Second to last one on this list is worst moment. It's not. I think we all know what the answer is going to be, but I'm going to try and find a rogue one, and obviously let one of you say the Blackburn game. I'm going to say losing back-to-back away games to Hull and Wigan towards the end of the season. I think they were big moments, and for me anyway, was the worst moment of 2023 following Millwall, because we had 2 long journeys, committed to going up there. We're going there, and you just want the players to get over the line. We couldn't. Back-to-back defeats away from home against Hull and Wigan. 2 teams struggling at the time as well, may I add, and nothing to play for. Wigan got relegated in the end. 2023. There you go. There's my one.
Dan, do you want to take the obvious one?
Well, I mean, I've also because of this scenario, I also came up with a couple of others. So I'll say them actually. To be honest, I also thought of two. So I had Huddersfield home, as we discussed earlier. That's kind of where we felt like we could be in a bad spot here in terms of form and results dropping off, and then also the Leeds game, just for again all the reasons we discussed earlier, just felt like it completely ran out of road by that point, and yeah, everything just felt really bad around the club at that point.
Maybe we put the
Narrowing
meta
it
choice.
to
Maybe we
one.
put the meta. Yeah, maybe we put the meta choice of Blackburn in there, but maybe we have our rogue choice of I don't know. Maybe that Stephen, you have a choice of one that's a bit rogue, but then we'll put the Blackburn one in there anyway. We'll put 4 on this one. Do you have one more that's not been listed yet?
Do you want to just narrow what one you're picking, Dan, just for the
Ah, of course.
out of the two?
Okay, I'll go with Leeds.
Okay.
And then what would you've got,
Um,
Stephen?
I would say, obviously, not going with the obvious. I think that's a pretty standard answer. I actually think the Norwich away this season, when Rowett sarcastically clapped the supporters after chanting, obviously the fans were chanting at him, and he stood up and clapped. And I think when you do that at Millwall, you've got problems. And that to me was the real beginning of the end, because there was no coming back from that. We could have turned around and won that game, and people would have still remembered what he did. So yeah, for me that was a pretty poor moment, to be honest, all round.
Right, there you go. Last one on the list I've got here is a best player of 2023. Off you go, Dan. Who's your nominee for best player of 2023?
So obviously, because this is based off the second half of last season, the first half of this season, my vote is going to go to Tom Bradshaw. Scored some important goals, and whenever we've kind of written him off as the striker that might not be for us, he always seems to pop up, get himself back into the team, has that work rate that we love, and has a knack of scoring a goal at an important time when we need one. So, yeah, I think Bradshaw, over the course of the last 12 months, merits my vote. So my nomination is going to go to Tom Bradshaw.
I'm obviously going to back him up with his wingman that got us a lot of goals last season. Not performing this season, but I'm also going to say Danny McNamara. So there you go. There's my one. Okay, Cian Fleming. I'm going to put into the mix for 2023.
I'm just going to come in on that one quickly. I know Fleming has had his fair bit of criticism, but if you actually, I know football isn't played entirely on stats. Players do have to pass the eye test, but from a stats point, Fleming isn't doing actually that bad, to be completely honest. I think he has been a little bit underrated this season, and I think he's adapting to football under Edwards, and I think he could very much explode into life in this team once he gets a little bit more used to the system. So I don't think it's a bad shout, but yeah, certainly I think he deserves to be in the top 3 if you're looking at the year as a whole.
And we'll save George Saville for Stephen. So
yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like you have saved that for me, which I appreciate, because without a shadow of a doubt, George Saville was robbed of Player of the Season in 2022-23. I absolutely robbed. I'm sure there are lots of people that agree with that.
I voted for him.
Yeah, I did too. I think Sav is a leader. He's a Millwall type player, and someone that we massively miss when he's not in the team. Outstanding 2023 for me. I'm just pleased you guys didn't steal him, because it would have broke my heart to have to pick someone else, because he was just, for me, levels above.
I felt I had to go for Fleming purely because obviously I've been banging the drum for him still and doubling down on Fleming. But I would have said Saville if I might have been my actual pick. But also Leonard if he wasn't injured, which is the story of Ryan Leonard at Millwall. So it's just his injury. His injury's holding him back.
Yeah, it's a name that came in as well. And to be honest, maybe him extending his contract could also be another outsider for best bit of business.
It's quite telling that none of us have gone for like a defender though. I know Leonard, we're just saying Leonard there, but in a weird way of like a Millwall kind of, we always say defenders do well at Millwall, and we're typically quite renowned for our defensive ability. 2023 has not been that year either. That's a kind of conclusion I take from it, isn't it?
If Cresswell had stayed in the summer, Charlie come home in January, I think he probably would have made my list, to be completely honest.
We didn't have a best moment in there. We done worst moment, but not best moment. But in a weird way, what like kind of odd maybe another one like an odd standout, not even like a category, but just an odd standout was Cresswell pocketing Carroll the way he did, because that
I was
felt
about
really
to say,
significant.
that was a,
because I was thinking earlier on when we was doing the show, I was like, Cresswell against Carroll was like a real kind of like a big moment. I felt like, obviously Bradshaw had a lot of individual performances that stick out, and Fleming too. But I think for me, like that performance against Reading, the way he just dominated a well-renowned target man who's been around the block a few times and was doing all right for Reading as well last season. I think he deserves some credit for that.
I also think, just as a little bit of a rogue one, and it's I'm going to say a moment, but an actual game that I think that we've seemed to forget and we didn't really mention was the Burnley performance at home after Sheffield United. We'd put everything into that Sheffield United game, and I thought for Burnley, who were free scoring, obviously walked away with the league that night, we played quite well under the circumstances, and to nick a draw how we did, I think the effort of the players that night was certainly to be commended, because Sheffield United and Burnley taking 4 points out of those two games was a phenomenal effort.
Definitely, absolutely agree with you there. I think that's our lot, isn't it? I think we've got any other. We don't think there's any other categories, is there? No, that's it.
No, we've got enough
No.
there, and there's plenty of options for the listeners to go and choose from.
We'll chuck a comment in onto YouTube and also put tweets out. Be sure to check out our Twitter where we do the polls. Be sure to comment below what you think and leave your opinions. And obviously, if you disagree with what we said, come at us and feel free to debate it with us, because we love to do that. So, yeah, I think that's going to wrap up the review of 2023 of That Mill podcast. Dan, thank you for joining me today, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. And see you Saturday.
Thank you. See you Saturday. Stephen, thank you, mate.
You made me talk about Blackburn again, so I'm going to say thanks for having me, but at the same time, you've made me really, really sad. But it's great to look back. It is great to look back, and it's great to look back on some of the better moments, shall we say, of 2023.
2023, I think we said was it October or what month it was? This will be a month to forget. I think 2023, although significant off the pitch, on the pitch, it'll be one that we will want to forget as Millwall fans. So, yeah, thanks for watching and thanks for tuning in and listening, guys. Be sure to like the videos and subscribe if you're new, and obviously check out our socials as mentioned earlier there. So, thanks for watching. See you later.